If you think about it, the worst character we've gotten from the start of version 2 to now would probably be either Boothill or Jade, which is crazy to think.
Oh my god! Yo, boss banned it, man. Boothill Slender again. Boothill Slender again. But to say he's the same level as Jade, in terms of the worst five, he still say worst 5 stars, right?
The worst character we've gotten from
The worst character we've gotten.
Is there way too many 5 stars? Are players struggling to keep up? What is going on? Find out today in MrPokke's channel.
Subscribe!
Alright, so without further ado, let's go.
Honkaistarrail throughout 2024, there's a high chance you've seen a video.
By the way, you guys might have noticed I didn't do the normal intro because Tagtone said he hates my intro. He wants me to die in-game for my intro. So unfortunately, we're no longer going to have to do the old intro. I think we might have to drop the old intro. We'll just do something new every single time. Right, cool, done.
Or discussion on power creep. Considering most players came directly from Genshin Impact, a game that sees comparatively less of an increase in power scaling from patch to patch, the rate at which the needle gets pushed in Star Rail can definitely come off more jarring to players. From my
I just want to say this entire Aircron cutscene, it was beautiful. They absolutely cooked with the Aircron animation, the Aircron Black Swan. It probably still is one of, if not the best anime animations that we got so far. Like feixiao was pretty not too bad, but like this was genuinely like, oh my god, dude. Okay.
My experience being a day 1 player, I think the first ever instance of people bringing this up was when Fushuan came out, as she would totally eclipse Japard in tanking capabilities while even giving Luocha a reason to sweat for offering healing of her own. Surely
I mean, like, well, people are surprised though. It's Japard. It's a standard 5 star. I think Fushuan coming out, it was not too many people surprised. Oh my god, she power crept Japard. A limited 5 star power creeping Japard. That is absolutely diabolical. We could never. Gacha games could never.
I think Jinglio, who at the time was a strict upgrade over many other existing DPS characters.
Okay, wait, pause. Yanqing, fine, right? Bro is cooked, right? Yanqing, fine. Blade, was Blade bad back then? I don't think it was that bad back then because the Mammal Chaos environment was still pretty easy, so you could still do 0 cycle with Blades. I don't think it was that bad. It's just now Blade just looks like way worse. I feel like bad because you really had no other options, right? It was basically either Blade, Jingyuan, or Scylla. And bro is a I think it was not that bad per se. And like you couldn't really exactly like if we had a wind element stage, I would still run Blade over Jingliu. You get what I'm saying? So it's not that bad. And also, yo, put some respect to Scylla's name. I feel like out of all these 3 characters, Scylla is probably still like she is her. You know? She is still her. Granted, you probably want some pretty diabolical vertical investments for the Eidolons as well as the relics. But I think she's absolutely her. Resurgence as a mechanic in a turn-based game, the extra turn is just fundamentally broken. And I think as long as she can prod that shit, she will always remain relevant. So I think she's the only unit that I think she's pretty good.
Characters, one of which being her quintet comrade, Blade. Discussion was further brought up when Huohuo came out, being the second featured healer and one who noticeably outstripped Luocha in utility. From then on, the rest
Yeah, fuck Luocha.
is history, patch after patch. Since 1.6, it felt like every pair of characters was superseded character that came before. Black Swan, Sparkle, Akron, Aventurine, Robin, Firefly, Jade, Yunli, Chouchou, feixiao, and Ningxia.
Okay, honestly, now that he's talking about this, there is quite a lot of 5 stars. To be completely fair, right? There is quite a lot of 5 stars in Honkai Starbucks. And the sad thing is, okay, I'm just being like, even though, you know, we have like our Charon and our flight, right? Like they're easy and all that kind of stuff. But I feel that nowadays, okay, for me at least nowadays, I'm only using the same few teams generally, unless it's like for content. Then we'll kind of do something else. But like for like daily farming, for like your SU, you know, like you run a Super Break, you run Aircron. It's more or less just coming down to Super Break and Aircron. All the other units previously, it's a little bit hard to fill in a reason that I will use them over Firefly and Aircron. For example, DOT. Hey, I love DOT, but like it is what it is, you know. So yeah, which is why you should play Honkai Starbucks PvP, so that you can use all of your favorite 5 stars, and they can finally be put in the spotlight once again. So check out the Discord at discord.gg/Pokke, discord.gg/. We have one of the only Honkai Star Wars PvP tournament in the entire world. Yes, we are going to be hosting our own tournament one day. So yeah, hop on over there and use your favorite 5-star units. Insane.
A mere surface glance observation of these characters compared to the 5 stars of old, and even the 4-star characters like Gallagher, March 8, and Harmony MC if you consider them a 4-star, there's a significant leap in power and range of features in those units. It's perfectly understandable why discussion over power creep has been growing over time, as it correlates to the exhaustion of keeping up with all the new characters. Now, having made a video on this myself back in 2.0, I wanted to revisit the topic now that we have more characters to work with, but instead of talking about power creep specifically, which we all know is decidedly relevant, I want to bring up a different point of discussion. Is Honkaistarrail releasing too many characters? And more specifically, should the frequency of new releases be a bigger point of concern over how strong they're becoming? Power and feature creep are inevitable in live service games, none more so than in gachas, considering units are meant to be pulled
Oh my god, that is so good. It's actually crazy. Oh my god, now I'm hungry.
for with a rarity sparse enough to where in most titles you're pressured to spend money to acquire more premium currency than you're given for free. There needs to be a clear incentive
Oh yeah, chat. The first meal when I land on Freehold on the Brave, I hope Box 2 brings me to somewhere good. Yo, Box 2, if you're watching this, bring me to somewhere good for lunch, by the way. Because if it's literally my first meal. Yeah, if you bring me to Panda Express, I don't think we can be friends after this. You know, it is what it is.
incentive to do so. In completely free-to-play games, you're more likely to mess around with new content, even if they're not necessarily better than existing stuff because you're not paying a price to obtain them.
What the
But
hell is he
even
doing
for
here?
those games, you still want to have a trait
What the hell
distinguishing
is he
the
doing
new
there?
from the old, and what most games usually do is make that new content have either more of a feature or extra features. Rather than try to fight power and feature creep, the goal of any live service game is to control and contain it as best they can. All things considered, I think Hoyo is doing a pretty good job at that for Honkaistarrail. Yes, the game is power creeping in the sense that the ceiling is practically shot open, but several version 1 units have either gotten retroactively buffed or are still adequately clearing the game's content. They're not
Yeah, that's
breaking any
pretty fair.
records, mind you, but if you're primarily concerned with getting the bare minimum to obtain all the rewards and not 0 cycle clearing or 80k scoring, then in that case, Starrail's power scaling is not accelerating at such a rate to where old characters become completely unviable. However, a big part of the enjoyment of video games is to experience the full extent of what is possible. Even if you can complete all the game's content without the most optimal characters or tactics, being denied the full experience can alone be detrimental to one's enjoyment, which is why gacha games have the predatory reputation that they do. They deprive you of the full experience unless you pony up. And when it comes to gachas, the full experience is often the characters, bringing me to the topic of this video. A number of you may have seen that one graphic last year comparing how
Wait,
many
what is this? Directly comparing Genshin 2.0 to Star Rail 2.0 banners. Okay. So basically, we have more units game to game, patch to patch. Okay, interesting.
units were released in version 1 for HSR compared to Genshin. It's a fairly noticeable difference. Bear in mind, version 1 was about the most characters Genshin released. Since then, in version 2, 3, and 4, the number has gone down. But so far, apart from skipping a 4-star, Starrail has been releasing a consistent stream of units every version, and they appear to show no indication of slowing down. The question
Up until Rappa. I think this was the first patch that we only got one, right? I think this is literally the first patch that we only got one 5-star. That is Rappa. And I think I'm not sure. Maybe they released 2. Who knows? But like it is like starting to show. Maybe they do like 1 unit, 2 unit alternatively, or just 1 unit every single patch nowadays. So but I think it is starting to slow a little bit because this is the first time that it has happened. We don't know what's gonna be happening going forward. I don't know who's coming out, but yeah, Rappa is the first unit.
is, why is Starrail making so many units? Like I said many times in the past, Honkaistarrail's entire gameplay experience is purely combat, while Genshin allows for other forms of gameplay like overworld exploration or even smaller things like fishing, collecting, and even house building. 99% of your experience in Starrail consists of battling. Therefore, the central part of the game entails working on your units and creating a bunch of different teams. I mean, for crying out loud, we have like 5 endgame modes, 3 of which go through cyclical updates. With that many different combat scenarios, you're unsurprisingly expected to have a bunch of units on deck, and with that in mind, they give us a bunch of units aimed at covering them. Notably, as of late, what's been happening is a focus on party slot fulfillment. See, back in version 1, the focus was mainly general coverage. With there not being many units available, the idea was to just release characters who can do general attacking, general buffing, and the like, represented by Lunai Danheng and Jingliu doing just that, or by tanks like Wushuan and Luocha who don't particularly cater towards a certain niche. In the interim though, they were planting seeds for future ideas. Kafka for damage over time, Topaz for follow-up attacks, things of that nature. They then acted on those expansions, leading to the creation of playstyles, which I suppose can be Star Rail's equivalent of elemental reactions, in light of
Oh shit, I forgot how diabolically good Kafka's trailer was until you played this.
leading to the creation of playstyles, which I suppose can be Star Rail's equivalent of
That's actually, yeah, it's pretty good.
elemental reactions, in light of there being none. Instead of supercharging a single unit, the goal is to achieve a collective output, as is the case for follow-up attack teams counting the damage of 2 or sometimes 3 attackers, or break teams doing the same thing, or even damage over time as well. Naturally, as parties get more attackers, or break teams doing the same thing, or even damage over time as
Change Rame to Robin, and we're all good.
well. Naturally, as parties get more specialized and efficient, you need supplementary units who can do the same thing. The Harmony Trinity is a great example of this. Sparkle, Robin, and Runmei are all exceptionally powerful supports at a base level. They provide
Absolutely.
tons of damage for their team practically unconditionally, but from then on, they branch out into their own distinctions. Runmei break damage, Robin follow-up attacks, and Sparkle hyper carry.
This is a little bit debatable. Like, I'm gonna keep it about. This is a little bit debatable because Robin, aside from break, I think that Robin just works with everything. To the point where sometimes I would just run Robin over Sparkle. So it is a little bit debatable. Oh yeah, we will see.
This also extends to sustain units. Aventurine is a follow-up attacker, Ho-Ho is a battery support, Gallagher is a break support, and I guess Lingsha is also a break support if you want to put it that way. That is my inference on why Hoyo is releasing so many characters. They're pushing content out at a high frequency, and in response, they have to make a lot of different playstyles that need representatives. On one hand, this is a very good decision to make. Those who watch my Genshin content know how frustrated I am with the Geo and physical niche being totally neglected, as well as hyper carries falling off prior to version 4.
Yo, Genshin mains, any inputs? I have no inputs. Genshin mains, yo, feel free to leave your comments down below. Is Genshin's lack of love for ice and physical element a problem? Alright, anyways.
In Star Rail, they're giving us support for niches immediately instead of waiting 2 years to do so, at which point we would have written them off. Now if only they can give support for HP scaling units like Blade, that would be awesome, thanks. Objectively speaking, variety and option selection are always good. I think it's excellent for long-term sustainability that we have all these different ways to play, because it prevents the meta from becoming stale. During the winter, it might be follow-up attacks, during the spring it can be break teams, during the summer it could be hyper carry, during the fall it can be damage over time, summons, what have you. Remember, it ties back to Honkai Star Rail's core experience being combat. It's in Hoyo's best interest to spice it up as much as they can, especially given how one-dimensional its combat can be. Since
Okay, I think I agree that a lot. So up to this point, basically, the start of 1.x, it was all like general units, right? You want them to kind of just fill in general niches because nobody got any units going on. So units that perform generally very well, they're very, very good. All right, your fusion sustain, your Jingliu Impetus just brute forcing everything. Then 2.x is where they start specializing. So you're specialized into follow-up, break, DOT. I guess in the future we get summons team, who knows what's up with that. And maybe 3.x. They go into that even further. More team comps. I hope that for 3.x, even if they were to release new 5 stars, it is not in a sense where they are vertical investment 5 stars, if you get what I'm saying. I hope like for 3.x or like future updates, it's just like more ways to play this game that doesn't make the old team worse. Because the new teams, or rather the teams that are getting new upgrades, will like outperform the old teams that didn't get upgrades. So what I mean by this is, for example, if 3.x we get new units, right? I hope that they can just open up more playstyles of like different team comps. So the summon team comp, the I don't know, a freeze team comp, like freeze mage in Hearthstone or whatever, right? What's like another good team comp? The turret, the Hammerdinger team comp, you summon your turrets and the turrets do damage for you. The invisible team comp, your team can't even be targeted. Like just crazy team comps that just really push the, because we have like so many different paths, right? We have so many different aeons that are aeons of nihility, remembrance, elation, aha, evolution. There's so many different aeons that there's also a lot of different ways that we can play different team comps for different endgame content. And I think that will make the game very, very fun because you have a lot of different things to play with. On the other hand, it would be, or at least I would feel it would be not as fun if they just keep investing into the same team comps. So they keep releasing, like for example, right, feixiao is basically an upgrade to the follow-up team comp. Yeah. Lingsha is basically an upgrade to the break team comp. Or Jiaoqiu is an upgrade to the I don't know, the Aircon team comp, right? Or whatever. So like releasing units that upgrades existing team comps, that's when the problem of power creep will become more prevalent. Because one team comp will have more upgrades than the other. Look at what happened to DOT. You get what I'm saying? So like one team comp will have more upgrade than the other, then it'll feel like the old team comps is like it'll be worse. And players that invested in the previous archetype, like DOT mains in 2024, they will either be forced to get more idolants for their old units if they don't want to get E0s, or they have to just be content with the fact that at the same level of investments vertically, they will perform worse than the new team comp. Or rather, the team comp that has new upgrades, right? So I hope what I'm saying here makes a little bit of sense. All right, cool.
Every unit can only do so much on their own. Strategy comes down to less what you do with the character and more who you pair them with. That can be really fun because you might run into a scenario that wants AoE follow-ups, prompting you to use Jade and Himeko. Another scenario you
And nobody using. Okay, you know what? Okay. Maybe Jade is crazy, right? Maybe but I have zero regrets not putting for Jade. But
might want single target follow-ups, so you go feixiao, ratio.
Okay, wait. Okay, the reason why I say this is because her best use is in pure vision. I'm not saying her only use is pure vision. Her best use is in pure vision. And you know what we get in pure vision? Herta. A free goddamn unit that literally works like almost every single pure vision cycle. So the incentive to pull a unit for pure vision just inherently is lower compared to Memory of Chaos, and to a certain extent, a Pocketed Shadows, right? To a certain extent. Okay, actually, I don't. A Pocketed Shadows, if you have Super Break, you pretty much just win one side for free. If you have Super Break, right? Then the other side you kind of have to cook a little bit. But for pure vision, it's just like, unless they make like pure vision 10 or something like this, it is a mode that I wouldn't like invest specifically for.
Topaz. One situation you might want fire break damage, so you go Firefly. The next you might want physical damage, so you go Boot Hill. And with the influx of new characters, there's never a dull moment. You always have something to work on or something to work towards. As a progress-oriented gamer, that's my favorite thing about HSR. Always having something to work towards because the game necessitates it. Not to say you can't just brute force your way through everything with that chron or whatnot, you most certainly can, and evidently people most certainly do. That being said, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. On the other hand, bluntly speaking, honkaistarrail is very high maintenance. Not in terms of dailies, on that front it's the lowest maintenance game by far given you can auto-battle everything, but like most gacha devs, Hoyo has a proclivity for tuning their endgame combat environments to whatever shiny new toy they're marketing at the time.
Yep, absolutely.
For example, when Akron came out, there was a huge focus on including her in MLC and Pure Fiction. When Firefly came out, all three endgame modes were catered towards break effect. With Yunli, feixiao, and Ningxiao all having follow-up attack based mechanics, cycle blessings are coinciding MOC, APOC Shadow and PF iterations entail follow-up attacks or frequency of attacks. Things get kinda tricky from here on out. Typically, even if you don't pull for the new character, assuming you have most of the existing cast, you should still be able to eke out a clear score sufficient enough to get all the rewards. It may not be—
Okay, wait, pause. I think there's a very, very interesting topic. I think this is up for discussion as well. I'm not saying I think this is objectively true. A unit that is good enough to clear, or rather, if you play a player who has the mindset of just getting a team that is good enough to clear like max stars, like the max 10 cycles, 6,000 points, all that kind of stuff, it will be I feel like it's a very different playing experience if you're a player that plays for like, oh, I wanna not even like 0 cycles, right? But I just wanna like be more than enough. It's like, yeah, sure, both players will get quote unquote A in a test, because the A is basically 3 stars, right? That's A. But the playing experience of playing an A team and an A team that can like do so many different mechanics is very different. So what I mean by this is, for example, a lot of like team building guides, builds for units, speed tuning, all that kind of stuff. Not a lot of these team guides that people have, I would say, it's catering towards the group of players that are just looking to 3-star something. Because 3-starring something, you don't really need like the most optimal things. You can almost, to a certain extent, you can just kind of play for fun. And unless you are like getting killed or in-game, or like you just clear like way too slow because you're running like Arlen, Shushang, and like 3-4 stars, more or less you should be still able to get 3 stars. So the rationale, the thinking of trying to achieve an optimal team, a fluid team with a fluid playing experience, it is way more prominent in players looking to optimize their gameplay. You don't need to optimize your gameplay to get 3 stars, but if you do, you are probably gonna be enticed by the shiny new things that MiHoYo comes out, right? You probably will be. It's, for example, like, I think this is a super straightforward example. Back then, before Black Swan came out, I'm talking about DOT, before Black Swan came out, it's not like Kafka with like a Sambo and Ting Yun and like I think we didn't have Ramen back then, right? And a Sustain. You could still 3-star a content back then. Right? So it's completely fine. But when Black Swan first launched, there was no inherent difference in players being able to 3-star or not 3-star content. Because you could still do it without Black Swan. Right? Kafka without Black Swan, you could still. Nowadays, because this is like this is back then, right? But fast forward to today, nowadays, if you're still running Kafka without Black Swan, and you're still running like Sambo with like a R-Star and like a, I don't know, like a Lynx, like 1.x versions, your quote-unquote good enough team might not be good enough anymore. So that would be a problem if players playing for Honkai Starbucks endgame, they will face if they don't care about optimizing and pulling for the quote-unquote upgrades. You could just like, for example, for now, Blade. I think the best example right now is Blade, right? Okay, Blade or Jingyuan. You could still 3 stars, right? You could still 3 stars. Hey, you can even still 0 cycle with like absolute min-max stuff. But it is getting increasingly difficult. You could just, not pull for Ramen, not pull for Robin, not pull for HP scaling supports, not pull for the summon supports in the future if you don't want to. But at what point would it come where you realize now you can't do it anymore? You get what I'm saying? So yeah, this is just a discussion, a thought process. That's my thoughts. So feel free to cook it up in the YouTube comment section. All right, cool. Let's continue.
You have full point clear, but unless you're grossly underprepared, you'll be fine. But with there being 3 separate game modes, each with their own conduct, though they all share the same, I guess, motif of break, follow-up, or ultimate damage, your team may be sufficient for one game mode like MLC, but they may not be good for other game modes like PF, requiring you to have a lot more than just a couple of units of it.
Oh, this is a pretty interesting, what is this? There's a pretty interesting point, which is not just specifically our existing endgame content, right? New endgame content that comes out. It will also incentivize players to make new teams for new endgame content. Between Zenless, Honkai, and Genshin, I believe Honkai is the one with the most amount of endgame content as of this current moment. And who is to say they're not going to add even more, right? So if they were to add even more endgame content, this will also incentivize players to, want more 5 stars to tackle more endgame. Because the title of this video is there an oversaturation problem, right? What happens if you have too much supply? Too much supply of 5 stars. You will need a demand. This is the demand, right? This is the demand, either in terms of, vertical demand, where they make the existing stages harder, like Memory of Chaos 12, or make MOC 12 the health pool like infinitely higher, or like Pure Vision 6, or like Approach. This is vertical, or there can be horizontal demand, which is just adding more game modes. So both of this will like quote unquote tackle the oversaturation or the oversupply problem, right? Demand and supply, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Demand and supply.
Every niche, thus putting a ton of pressure on players to pull for as many characters as possible, which can be difficult when they're constantly popping out 2 5 stars per version, each one stronger than the last. To Hoyo's credit, As discussed in my
That is kind of debatable. I wouldn't say every single 5-star is always stronger than the last 5-star, because most of the time they might not even work in the same team comp. Like you wouldn't pull Topaz for Firefly. You wouldn't pull what do you call it? You wouldn't pull feixiao for I mean what you could see a feixiao Aircon team, right? Like if you have an Aircon team, you probably would be less incentivized to pull for feixiao. You know what I'm saying? So like they're kind of branching out into different paths specifically. Not like every single 5-star is always better than the last 5-star. And sometimes maybe the 4-star is still good, right? Like I'm really interested to see how Lingsha performs with Gallagher. But we'll see.
You wouldn't pull Jade.
Yeah, I was saying left text, you wouldn't pull Jade. Your mods bend the Jade slender. I would never, right? But anyways, yeah.
free characters video, they've done a bang-up job hooking us up with a number of free hard hitters. March 8, Gallagher,
Absolutely.
Harmony MC, Ratio, and so on. The free pulls you get, along with
Imagine playing Honkai Starbucks without a free daughter ratio. That's crazy.
the Jades you accumulate per version should be enough to where free-to-plays should more or less be okay if they play every day. But that circles back to my point of the game being very high maintenance. It can be demanding enough to have to keep up with Starl's rapidly changing endgame climate, but when you compound the additional thought of characters who spent a ton of jades and stamina on getting power crept by someone, that can feel like a big punch in the gut. I'm not saying that just because Lingsha and Aventurine are direct upgrades to Gallagher and Japard respectively, suddenly the latter two are no longer usable, but you can draw a reasonable conclusion that if characters are getting visibly stronger one after another, it's safe to assume the content they're expected to be thrown at will also get tougher to further promote the need to get them.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very, very good point. There's no point releasing vertical upgrades to a team comp if they're just gonna make the current endgame content the exact same. There's no incentive. Or rather, there's very little incentive because there's still waifu and husbando pullers. So, with a greater power comes greater responsibility. With great power comes great response. You get what I'm saying? So there has to be like a way to make use of these power. Right? It's kind of like if you guys watch Avengers. Do you guys watch Avengers? When Iron Man was okay, this is super off tangent. When Iron Man was like a thing, right? We didn't have so many multi-galactic dimensional threats, Thanos and all that kind of stuff. But because Iron Man, Captain America, they all came up, right? They're stronger and stronger. They formed the Avengers. The Avengers getting stronger. This signaled to the universe that Earth was ready for a form of higher combat. I think Thor said that. Right? So with greater power, there will always be a greater demand to use these set great powers.
The character and playstyle variety in this game is somewhat counterbalanced by the combat leaving not much room for nuance, and so eventually it comes down to who can kill stuff faster, who can tank stuff better, who can buff you more, etc. I brought that up in my support video where even though technically the Harmony Trinity has its own specifications, their buffing capabilities at base are just so good that you have no practical reason to even consider using the other supports unless of course you don't have them.
Leave Hanya out of this, right? She has huge personality, right? Come on,
that will only continue to exacerbate over time. Gallagher is broken as hell, and then they added Lingsha who can do most of what he can and then some. We've been seeing that all throughout the sustain category too. Aventurine and Huohuo can do so much more than Japard and Locha. Again, not to say the latter two are suddenly useless.
Okay, I need to step in here. I know I shit on Locha a lot. But Locha is still more skill point positive than Huan Huan. It is not like a direct power creep that he is just completely useless. Locha still is more skill point positive, and his ultimate is considered as an AoE group dispel that can hit all targets. Huan Huan can't do that, right? We all love Huan Huan, but right, Locha is not. Bro is literally comparing Locha to a standard sustain, which is a little bit rough. Right, justice for my man. Before he turns into auto again.
But the chance of them eventually falling off in the future is higher than most people are comfortable with. It's a very tenuous balance to maintain, one that may not even have a midpoint offering a win-win for both sides. Starl's giving us higher numbers and more capability. On top of those shiny numbers being a reason to want to pull for them, one way they can sweeten the deal is by increasing the game's difficulty, making existing choices less efficient to use at a high level, causing the new, stronger units to feel that much more appealing. If they don't raise the game's difficulty, then there's much less reason to pull for new characters when your current roster is sufficient. So logically speaking, eventually they'll raise the difficulty ceiling if they want to market the new powerful characters. On one hand, you want to challenge the player to make them work towards goals and put in the time, resources, and effort to achieve them. On the other hand, you don't want the challenge to be suffocating so as not to damage the experience, especially when you take into account the means of completion being locked behind a paywall. Tons of players will love nothing more than to go deep into character and team building and whatnot, they just don't have the wherewithal to do so. And the last thing we want is for Honkaistarrail to become a pay-to-win game, which I know all gachas are literally pay-to-win, that's kind of what they're known for, but overall you have to find that balance between making the game hard enough to give players a reason to log on and grind, but not too hard to where it alienates players, particularly those without disposable income. Do you need every character to have a full experience? No, but being denied from too many characters, which is the main focus of the game, can be a source of frustration for players. And
I think that's very true. You don't need everyone, but lacking a few of the key 5 stars to a team comp that you want to play can be a little bit frustrating. It's like, oh shit, I didn't pull Robin for my follow-up team comp. Let me just use Runmei. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree.
Every developer should minimize aspects of frustration because frustration leads to players giving up on the game. I also think one more issue is resource availability. This has always been a sore spot for the game. Unless you buy refreshes, it can take weeks to max out just a character's level, weapon, and traces, let alone equipping them with half-decent relics.
Is it true? You need weeks? Is it true? Oh, it actually takes weeks. Holy shit. It takes a month? Shut the fuck up, it doesn't take a month. Yeah, I mean, you can pre-farm. Now, I'm just saying, objectively, how many stamina would you need to like max out units, level, characters level, Lycon's level, as well as the tracers? 3 weeks tops. Okay. Yeah, that is kind of long. Yeah, that's kind of long. Yeah.
Thankfully, with relics, you can always take from one person and give them to another. For example, if you want to build breaking.
Wait, okay, pause. Okay, wait, there's a very interesting point here. This is assuming that you didn't pre-farm, and every single patch when a new unit comes out, you have to farm from scratch, which is not really realistic, because I don't think most players playing Honkai Star is pulling for every single 5-star, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you guys are pulling for every single 5-star. Only content creators are like will do that. So if you don't pull for every single 5-star, there will definitely be a period where you are farmed up enough and you can allocate existing stamina to pre-farm for the next unit. Right? So yeah. And the longer you play this game, the more this compounds. Like, I don't know how much excess materials you guys have, but I have like, okay, okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna use myself as an example because I'm a little bit out of touch with all of the pre-farm stuff. But like, I think you guys should have a pretty healthy stash, right? Like a healthy stash of, not saying like tracers, but like at least like character experience and Lycon experience. Or maybe I'm just wrong. Alright, let me know.
Himeko, you can jack Firefly's Iron Cavalry set and give it to her for a moment. Or if you want to swap around relics between Acheron and Ratio since they both use Dead Waters, you should be good to go there. But overall, it's a huge resource and time commitment to get all these units geared up, so having 2 characters coming out every patch can be quite straining on Trailblaze power in addition to your wallets. Right now,
you know what's the solution to this? Okay, for specifically relics, right? You know what's the solution to this? When in doubt, use 4-piece quantum. I literally used my same 4-piece quantum since day 1, till this day, by the way. Till this day, I'm still using 4-piece quantum. It has never ever, as long as the unit is a crit DPS, I'm slapping on 4-piece quantum. If I don't have a best in form, I'm slapping on 4-piece quantum. That shit just works with every single crit DPS. Every single crit DPS, 4-piece quantum. When in doubt, 4-piece quantum. When in doubt, 4-piece quantum. Right? So that's a very, very good solution. Although nowadays, if you want to specifically farm for it, then I wouldn't say it's that worth it anymore, because they are already releasing like more tailored, more niche sets, right? It's kind of like the whole 1.x and 2.x 5-star problems. In 1.x, they have like general characters. 2.x is like more specialized characters. Nowadays, we have more specialized relics. So it might not make much sense for you to get a generalized relic set anymore. But back then, if you had a god tier 4-piece quantum, you could literally still use them till this day. I wouldn't say it's recommended anymore, because it's kind of like a waste of stamina, especially the 2-piece watering guard is like completely fucking useless. But yeah, if you have a good 4-piece quantum, it serves you for a very, very, very long time.
My sentiments on Honkaistarrail is that it's moving too fast. That can be good for players who go hard in the paint and like to pull for every character, but it can be bad for players who don't have the time or money to commit that much to the game. We can debate on whether or not a casual player should be allowed to comfortably complete endgame some other time, but right now you can fall behind quickly if you decide to like take a break for a couple patches. Once more, the game isn't power creeping as fast as other gachas, but in regards to characters, we're seeing units one-upping each other fairly convincingly. It may not be happening right now, but I think by version 3, if they keep the pace they're going, and enemies accordingly get progressively bulkier and have more mechanics to watch out for, it will start to become more prevalent. In my humble opinion, I don't think the issue is power creep in and of itself. It's power creep in conjunction with how many units we're getting. There's nothing wrong with wanting to release a bunch of units, but when you make every single character top tier or super top tier,
Yo, update this tier list, my man. Robin up top.
Eventually it's going to scale too far too fast. If you think about it, the worst character we've gotten from the start of version 2 to now would probably be either Boothill or Jade, which is crazy to think.
My god, yo, okay, let me,
most bandit, man. Boothill slander again. Boothill slander again. Okay, give me 1 second.
I think saying Boothill is not comfortable to play because you can't just be like break and then you just win, right? Like Firefly. I think that's fair. I don't think it's very comfortable to play. You need to know when do you activate your trick shots. Get the 3 stacks. Breaking with him, you can't break with anyone else. So it can be not as comfortable to play, right? But to say he's the same level as Jade in terms of the worst 5, he did say worst 5 stars, right? Wait, let me just
character we've gotten from the start of eventually is going to scale too far too fast. If you think about it, the worst character we've gotten from
the worst character we've gotten. Okay, everything in this video is like completely G. I feel like I agree, and like, they're very, very interesting.
From the start of version 2 to now would probably be either Boothill or
this is man. Like, what do you nah. Okay, this pretty much solidifies the fact that we're gonna have to make a video. The most underrated character in Honkai Starbucks. Genuinely, this is just nah. All right, so let's move on.
Jade, which is crazy to think about when Boothill and Jade are broken as shit in their own fields. If you think about how much they had to juice Firefly with just to put her on the same level as Akron, they had to do the same thing with feixiao. Hoyo has to give new characters power equal to if not greater than what's currently running right now, otherwise much less people will go after them. And when this happens over and over and over again, even though it's not unsustainable now, it will be unsustainable later. If they want to keep maintaining the pace of 2 new 5 stars per version while making all of them strong, increasing resource abundance would be another solution. If players had more materials and more pulls, they would have the ability to keep up, therefore they would not miss out on all the new fun stuff and subsequently not have disappointing experiences that would discourage them from continuing to play. There are plenty of ways to navigate this, but I suppose to properly give an answer on this video topic, is Honkaistarrail releasing too many characters? Yes, they are. What are your thoughts on this topic? Do you agree or disagree?
TLDR, yes they are. For me, I actually think it's fine. Oh my god, rank 1 Hoyo Shield. And there it is. I think it's fine. Because you don't need to pull for every single 5 star. It's kind of like the whole rerun thing, right? I think there were like quite a lot of people that were upset. Oh my god, how can we have 3 rerun banners in 1 patch? How am I gonna pull for all 3? You don't. That's the point. You don't pull for all 3 reruns in 1 patch. So it's not to say like just because they release more and more 5 stars doesn't mean they have to pull for every single one. And it's really just up to choice. Unless you are someone with no self-control. You just want the latest shiny things. Because to be fair, right, every single time they release a new 5 star, they will kind of cater the Memory of Chaos buff to the new 5 star. Right? Like now feixiao, there's a follow-up buff, then there will DOT buff, Akron buff. So like it will definitely tailor towards the new 5 stars. So you make it feel like you need a new 5 star, even though you don't. Because the moment this MOC buff is gone, then they will be in their real quote-unquote value, right? So for me personally, I'd rather have more 5 stars and having the option to choose which 5 star I want than having lesser 5 stars and it's just this amount of 5 stars. I always like to have just more options. Having more options to a player, I feel it's always going to be a good thing. For reruns, for 5 stars. This is going to be a problem, of course, if the 5 stars that's coming out just straight up does everything the previous guy did, but like way better. That would be a problem, right? So yeah, like for example, if you get like a HP scaling DPS and just completely shits on Blade in terms of multipliers, then womp, it is what it is. But to be fair, then again, Blade is like a 1.2 unit, so yeah. Let's
agree with my points? You're welcome to share in the comments down below. For now though, if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated.
Maybe. Alright, this is an excellent discussion. Honkaistarrail's 5-star oversaturation problem. Excellent content. Very good. Join this real quick. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on this thingy. Leave your thoughts down below. Do you think Honkai Starbucks has a oversaturation of 5 stars? It's kind of like both power creep and units and ink and everything, right? So very interesting video discussion. One of the days is gonna be Tiny. Join Twitch, join Discord. All the best for the culture pools. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.